Well, that year, you ended up losing your mansion.
Yeah.
This is the story of Evander Holyfield, a man who earned more than $230 million during one of the greatest boxing careers ever seen, yet found himself with only around $1 million to his name by the age of 63. The gap between those figures tells a heartbreaking story. Born on October 19, 1962 in Atmore, Alabama, Holyfield was the youngest of 9 children. His family later moved to Atlanta, where he was raised in the Bowen Homes housing project. It was there that he discovered boxing. In 1984, he represented the United States in the light heavyweight division at the Los Angeles Olympics. During the semi-final, he clearly outperformed New Zealand's Kevin Barry through 2 rounds. Near the end of round 2, the referee called for a break while Holyfield was throwing punches, and a final hook landed just after the command. He was disqualified. Barry was ruled unable to compete in the final due to medical reasons, and Holyfield left with a bronze medal. Despite protests from American officials, the decision remained unchanged. Later that year, he began his professional career. By 1988, he had become the undisputed cruiserweight champion, making history as the first fighter to hold all 3 major titles in the division at the same time. He then achieved something very rare by moving up to heavyweight and immediately challenging the best fighters in the world. In 1990, he knocked out Buster Douglas, the man who had shocked the world by defeating Mike Tyson. He went on to beat George Foreman and Larry Holmes. Throughout the 1990s, he faced Riddick Bowe 3 times and won 2 of those contests. After losing his titles to Michael Moorer in 1994, he stepped away briefly before returning in 1995 and winning them back. In 1996, he defeated Mike Tyson in what was considered one of boxing's biggest upsets, with Tyson entering as a massive favorite. A year later, he beat Tyson again in the infamous fight where Tyson bit his ear. He also shared the ring twice with Lennox Lewis. In 2000, Holyfield defeated John Ruiz to capture the WBA title for a 4th time. No other fighter in heavyweight history has won the championship on 4 separate occasions. Across 57 professional fights spanning nearly 3 decades, he reportedly earned between $230 and $350 million. By the time he beat Ruiz, he was regarded as the richest fighter in boxing. He owned a 109-room mansion, more than 100 vehicles, a record label, a restaurant, and several businesses built around his fame. Yet none of it lasted. In April 1994, between title reigns and before the Tyson fights, Holyfield lost a 12-round decision to Michael Moorer. Medical examinations afterward revealed a congenital heart condition known as a stiff heart. His left ventricle could pump blood outward, but struggled to fill properly during intense physical activity. His doctor Ronald Stevens stated that Holyfield had essentially fought while experiencing heart failure and called it remarkable that he completed all 12 rounds. The following day, doctors discovered a small congenital hole between the upper chambers of his heart. Later that year, he was also diagnosed with sarcoidosis, an inflammatory disease that can affect both the heart and lungs. On April 27, 1994, Holyfield announced his retirement at just 31 years old. However, by November, the Mayo Clinic cleared him for all activities, including boxing, after extensive testing found no major limitations. Holyfield credited his recovery to a faith-healing experience with preacher Benny Hinn. He returned to the ring in 1995. The comeback reached its peak in 1996 when he stopped Mike Tyson in the 11th round to win the WBA heavyweight title. Their rematch in 1997 produced one of the most unforgettable moments in sports history, when Tyson bit part of Holyfield's ear twice during the 3rd round following several clashes of heads. Tyson was disqualified and Holyfield retained his title. Images of the damaged ear were replayed around the world for years. In 2000, at age 37, he defeated John Ruiz to win a 4th heavyweight championship. By every meaningful measure, he had become the greatest cruiserweight ever to succeed at heavyweight. But from that point forward, the decline slowly began. A controversial draw against Lennox Lewis in 1999, which many observers believed Lewis had won, started to affect both his reputation and legacy. Lewis then defeated him by unanimous decision in their 2000 rematch. Further losses followed, including defeats to Chris Bird in 2002, James Toney in 2003, and Larry Donald in 2004, marking the beginning of a difficult final chapter in an otherwise legendary career.
Then in 2004, you fought Larry Donald.
Yeah.
You lost a 12-round unanimous decision. This was the 3rd consecutive match that you lost.
3 defeats in a row for the first time in his career. He is 42 years old.
Is that bothering you, losing 3 times in a row?
That's my first time ever lost 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And And of course, I myself said, wow.
He admitted it forced him to question why he was still stepping into the ring.
I got to find out what I'm ready to do. What is the purpose?
Right, because you're 42 at the time.
Yeah.
The sports response was simple: keep fighting. And that's exactly what he chose to do. In 2005, the New York State Athletic Commission revoked his boxing license not because of any failed medical exam, but due to what they described as declining abilities. The surprising part was that he had successfully passed every medical test put in front of him.
And then the next year, the New York State Athletic Commission actually banned you from boxing due to diminishing skills, even though you passed all the tests.
And then the following year, the New York State Athletic Commission refused to renew your boxing license because of what they called declining skills, even though you had passed every medical test. Still, he refused to walk away. He continued fighting and collected victories over lower-ranked opponents while hoping for another opportunity to compete for a world title.
But then you came back. You beat Jeremy Bates by TKO. You beat Frank Oquendo by unanimous decision.
Victories over fighters that the younger version of Holyfield would likely have finished within the first 3 rounds. By then he was 45 years old, moving from one opponent to the next to remain active and continue earning money.
You beat Vinny Madelone by TKO. You beat Lou Savaris.
Yep.
So you're just now winning and winning and winning. And you're 45 at the time.
Those wins earned him one last chance to stay in the spotlight. In 2008, he faced Nikolai Valuev, a Russian super heavyweight who tipped the scales at 310 pounds compared to Holyfield's 214. He was 45 years old.
Right.
He beat you, but they said that you were dominating the whole time.
What was that?
Holyfield felt strongly that he had done enough to win the fight, and many observers shared that view. But in the end, he did not receive the decision.
Everybody know that I won that fight.
He was 45 years old and earned $600,000 for that, about the lowest purse of his entire professional career. The same fighter who had made around $230 million in boxing was now stepping into the ring with a 310-pound Russian opponent for a fraction of that money because his fortune had already slipped away. His last official victory came in 2011 against Brian Nielsen when he was 48 years old. His final recorded fight, a no contest against Sherman Williams, ended in the 6th round after a cut above his eye and was widely seen as one of his weakest performances. He retired officially in 2014. Then in 2021, at the age of 58, he came back for one final exhibition against Vitor Belfort in Florida and was stopped in the very first round. After that bout, Florida issued him a 30-day medical suspension. The man who had twice defeated Mike Tyson was now being suspended after lasting only one round against a crossover MMA fighter, and that marked the end. A 27-year career, 57 professional fights, 4 heavyweight world titles, 1 undisputed cruiserweight reign, and a reported net worth in 2026 of about $1 million. The real question was never whether Holyfield was great, because he clearly was, but where did all the rest go? Where did $230 million disappear to? The answer includes a 109-room mansion, a sister, a record label, a grill, 3 divorces, 11 children, and a career that stretched far beyond the point it should have ended. By the time he was accepting $600,000 to face a 310-pound Russian, by the time the New York State Athletic Commission had already suspended him for diminishing skills, by the time he was chasing wins over journeymen like Vinny Madelone and Lou Savaris, the fortune from the Tyson fights, title defenses, and peak years was already gone. He was no longer fighting to grow his legacy, but to fill the financial gaps that had opened up. Each of these elements stands as its own chapter, and it begins with one house. The collapse of an empire, money, betrayal, and business. In 1998, Evander Holyfield built something almost impossible, a 109-room estate covering 54,000 square feet on 235 acres in Fairburn, Georgia, complete with 17 bathrooms, 3 kitchens, a bowling alley, private theater, gym, recording studio, and Olympic-size pool. It was the kind of property that did not just require money to build, but constant money to keep alive, to maintain, to power. The yearly cost of running it nearly reached $1 million, covering taxes, utilities, electricity, air conditioning, landscaping, and staff. Before he spent anything else, that million was already gone every year. At first his fight earnings were enough to support it, and being the best heavyweight in the world kept the structure alive. But by 2008, the financial foundation that had been weakening for years finally broke. Washington Mutual issued a foreclosure notice after he defaulted on a $10 million loan. The bank itself was collapsing during the financial crisis, one of the largest failures in U.S. history, and was absorbed by J.P. Morgan Chase, and Holyfield's mortgage was pulled into the chaos.
Well, that year, you ended up losing your mansion.
Yeah.
But the bank's collapse by itself did not explain the full scale of the damage. Years later, Holyfield revealed that someone much closer to him had also played a major role in making the situation far worse.
Washington Mutual Bank, I guess, was going out of business, and they had released documents saying that the mansion was going to be auctioned off. And I guess Chase Manhattan bought it for $7 million.
Washington Mutual Bank was already on the edge of collapse and had issued documents stating that the mansion would be put up for auction. Eventually, Chase Manhattan stepped in and purchased the property for $7 million.
And what exactly happened in that situation?
Well, in the situation that one of the family members borrowed money off my house.
Wait. One of your family members took a second mortgage on a house they didn't own.
The property, once valued between $10 and $20 million, was sold for just $7 million in what can only be described as a massive financial loss. But there was another deeper problem hidden behind it, a second blow that came from within the family itself.
That's it. That's because it was kind of sad. After my mama passed, now everybody want to steal from me.
Without Holyfield's knowledge, one of his sisters had taken out a second mortgage against the property. When Washington Mutual collapsed, both debts, the original loan and the unauthorized second mortgage, were activated at the same time, triggering foreclosure. The house was lost, and the impact of that betrayal felt even heavier because of who it came from.
Your sister stole from you.
Yeah.
So you can't even beat her up or nothing because she's a girl.
He was the youngest of 9 siblings, and the people involved were his older sisters. They were almost like parental figures in his life, women who had children the same age as him and who he had grown up respecting and looking up to.
Right, because you made over $230 million in the course of your career. $250 million.
He decided not to press charges and did not publicly identify her. He explained that he had earned too much in his career to send his own sister to prison. Instead, he chose forgiveness and moved forward with his life. The mansion was later sold to rapper Rick Ross for about $5.7 million. Holyfield himself moved into a simple 2-bedroom apartment.
Well, yeah, I mean, along the way, you started a record label, Real Deal Records. You invested millions of dollars into it. Unfortunately, none of the artists popped off.
$250 million earned, and the mansion was only the beginning of the losses. Because while the house was dissolving in foreclosure proceedings, the business graveyard that Holyfield had been building since 1999 was already full. That year, 1999, fresh off his controversial first fight with Lennox Lewis, Holyfield launched Real Deal Records LLC, an Atlanta-based music label distributed through Orpheus Records, carrying a diverse roster of R&B, hip-hop, and gospel acts: Legit, Cutboy G. De Niro, an R&B trio called Exhale, a gospel singer named Lexi, a Filipino pop act called Saison, and several others. The label released its first albums in the summer of 1999. None of the artists broke through. None of the releases found traction. The label folded by the early 2000s at a reported cost of around $3 million.
Well, now you can, with the world champion of countertop grills, the Evander Holyfield family-size Real Deal Grill.
But $3 million was a rounding error compared to what the restaurant cost him. Around the same time Holyfield poured money into New South Grill, a high-end dining establishment in Sandy Springs north of Atlanta. Framed as a fusion of Southern cuisine and celebrity hospitality, it was positioned between office buildings with limited foot traffic. Opened under the management of a chef named John Achiel and struggled from the day the doors opened. By September 2000, just 18 months after launch, Fulton County Marshal showed up to evict the business. 3 months of rent unpaid. The losses from the restaurant alone were estimated at between $7.6 million and over $10 million. Then came the grill. In October 2007, Holyfield partnered with Utah-based Sertran Corporation to launch the Evander Holyfield Real Deal Grill, a $99 indoor that outdoor electric countertop appliance marketed explicitly as a direct competitor to George Foreman's lean, mean, fat-reducing grilling machine. He starred in a full 30-minute infomercial apron on countertop, covered in food. The pitch was relentless.
It helped keep me at my fighting weight. Deborah, my family size Real Deal Grill have the best 1, 2, 3 cooking combination in the world.
The product faded, no profits were ever reported. He also released Real Deal Barbecue Sauce, a mild and hot sauce line he personally promoted in grocery stores, handing out autographs beside stacked display cases at $4.99 per jar, and a product called the Knockout 360 Fire Extinguisher, a branded home safety item that generated by every available Count Zero commercial traction. Then there was the Black Family Channel, a co-investment in a black-owned cable network alongside attorney Willie E. Gary. Marlon Jackson of the Jackson 5 and baseball player Cecil Fielder. The channel peaked at 16 million households, but could never solve the economics of cable distribution. It shut down in 2007. Holyfield's stake in the network turned into another unspecified loss. All of it was building pressure against a background of child support obligations that would have crippled most people on their own. Holyfield is the father of 11 children from 5 or 6 different women. At peak, his annual child support payments exceeded $500,000 by 2012. He owed an estimated $372,000 in back payments alone, with jail time being threatened for non-compliance. 3 divorces added legal costs and settlements on top of that,
and so forth. She just said it was heartbreaking because you have a really kind spirit. You would help so many people. You would help kids. You would help family members.
George Foreman earned over $100 million from his grill deal alone, more than from his entire boxing career. Holyfield's version never came close. A global distribution deal was signed with Northern Response in Canada for TV shopping and direct response channels. By 2008, adjustments were being made to the infomercial itself, a clear sign that the initial run had underperformed.
I would be writing to God out there if I have it, and then if that happened, but it's not like it ever made me broke.
He described it as a test of faith rather than a collapse of identity. The bankruptcy was not a break in who he was, he said. It was just a moment that required him to move, and move he did. In a 2023 Vlad TV interview, he described the pattern of those years plainly. Every person around him, he said, was taking something for themselves. It was just theft, wave after wave of it for years. And by the time he saw it clearly, the mansion was gone, the businesses were gone, and the money was gone. The controversies, the demons, and the man at 63. The financial collapse was one part of this story, but there was another part, a series of controversies that followed Holyfield through his career like a second shadow, attaching themselves to his name in ways that were far harder to remove or forgive. The first suspicion did not come from a courtroom or a headline, but from a hospital room. When cardiologists examined Holyfield after the Mora loss in 1994, they found a non-compliant left ventricle, a heart muscle that had grown rigid and thickened over years of extreme physical conditioning. In the boxing press and in locker rooms across the sport, the quiet observation spread quickly. That type of structural cardiac change, a thickened, enlarged left ventricle, was one of the documented side effects of long-term human growth hormone use in elite athletes. Holyfield denied it. He said the heart findings came from post-fight treatment, massive amounts of 4 fluids given to a dehydrated body that could not handle the load. He credited recovery to prayer and faith. He passed later medical checks at the Mayo Clinic and returned to boxing. But the question stayed in boxing memory and never left. In 2007, it came back in a stronger form. Federal investigators raided Applied Pharmacy Services in Mobile, Alabama, part of a wider East Coast investigation into illegal online steroid distribution networks. Inside the customer records, they found a patient file for someone named Evan Fields. The birth date on the account matched Holyfield exactly. The address listed was on Evander Street in Fairfield, Georgia.
Right. Well, because after that fight, you got accused of steroid use through a company called Applied Pharmacy Services.
His assistant told the interviewer that Holyfield's fundamental problem was his nature, that he was constitutionally incapable of turning people away, that his generosity was the door through which the exploitation entered. And when each wave of people around him turned out to be taking rather than giving, he did not change who he was. He just moved on and trusted the next wave. In 2012, he was formally declared bankrupt. In what was described at the time as one of the largest single-athlete sports memorabilia auctions ever staged, he sold nearly everything he had accumulated across a career. His championship belts, his Olympic bronze medal, his boxing gloves, the robe he wore on the night Mike Tyson bit his ear, sold. Every piece of it to pay down the debts, the back child support, the legal fees, and the creditors.
They're saying that there was a patient named Evan Fields, have the same birthday as you. There was a phone number that was, when they called it, you answered. There was a raid and it was under investigation, all that.
I said, you ain't never seen my weight fluctuate up and down. I told him, I said, y'all, Have y'all ever caught me in any kind of thing?
The details did not stop at a name and a street address. They are saying there was a patient named Evan Fields with the same birthday. As you then came the phone number investigators called the contact listed on the account, and the person who answered was Evander Holyfield.